Hey fellas, this is Collin and you're watching Magic Strawberry. For the past 14 years, Spider-Man games have not been very good. But thankfully Insomniac has come forth to redeem our favorite arachnid-themed Tights enthusiast. Insomniac's Spider-Man features a Peter Parker character at its best. He's witty, has a genius-level intellect, is frequently behind on his rent if he pays it at all, and struggles to balance school, work, friends, and his love life, while also protecting the city he holds near and dear. And although he falls on his face countless times along the way, it's the fact that he never once gives up on anyone and never takes it easy on himself. It's what makes him perpetually endearing and relatable. It makes it impossible not to get behind him as our protagonist. Insomniac also understands what brought us all here in the first place, as we are immediately thrusted into the one thing every Spider-Man game must get right, the web slinging. And Insomniac doesn't just get the web slinging right, they perfect it. The score even picks up whenever you start swinging, always slowing at just the right moments. You can tell the aim here was to craft an experience that could genuinely make you feel like you're Spider-Man. And as you swing through the city skyscrapers with uninterrupted momentum while bearing witness to a series of incomprehensibly fluid animations, Insomniac does just that. I've sometimes spent hours on the web swinging alone, and at times we're even treated to snippets of J. Jonah Jameson's podcast in which he predictably lectures the public on how much of a menace that Spider-Man is. It's always delightful to hear, even if he's not voiced by J.K. Simmons. Insomniac also made the smart choice of foregoing another origin story. Peter gets bit by a spider, yada yada yada, responsibility, Uncle Ben dies, which means we get to witness Spider-Man in his prime as he pummels his foes in exquisitely efficient fashion. The story kicks off with Spidey facing off against Kingpin. Of course, Kingpin loses, but it also means that he loses his grip as the head of Manhattan's crime scene. A gang war ensues, and Spider-Man is left to deal with the consequences. As Peter, he interns at a lab run by Otto Octavius and assists him with creating artificial limb technology. You can probably guess where this leads. He also assists Aunt May with volunteering in the state-of-the-art homeless shelter, Feast, while once again becoming intertwined with Mary Jane Watson, his currently off-again girlfriend, who is now an investigative reporter for the Daily Bugle. Throughout this 15-hour adventure, Insomniac made the rather curious decision to make an economical use of its villains, as the story mostly revolves around Peter managing his double life while gangs and a private military take over the city. And his friends and family are left to deal with their problems alone, because extenuating circumstances prevent him from being there with them. Because of this remarkable restraint, it piques our interest in all the right ways when the villains do show. It's just a shame that most boss fights with them are a bit of a letdown. While visually stunning to watch, most fights come down to sticking them up with webs until a prompt shows up to punch them in the face. As for the rest of the combat, it has a very Arkham-esque feel to it. Very Arkham-esque. It's a repeated reminder that this game isn't doing anything to reinvent the wheel, but the things it does well. In typical Insomniac fashion, you're also gifted with a variety of gadgets that allows you to fight opponents in endlessly creative fashion. And unlike Arkham, where the combat often felt weightless as Batman was inexplicably able to flip from one side of the screen to the other, it actually makes sense as to how Spider-Man is able to do it, because, you know, he has powers. It's also because of his powers combined with gadgetry that encourages creativity as far as stealth is concerned, though it's admittedly overly simplistic and at times too easy. It also bears mentioning that just like Arkham, while playing as a superhero with a supposed no-kill code, the damage you inflict on some opponents is definitely killing them, even if the game tries its best to suggest otherwise. When Spidey is not busy murdering the inhabitants of Manhattan's crime circles, he's sometimes not even front and center at all, as the narrative takes a detour in the oh-so-interesting lives of Mary Jane and one other character whom I shan't mention. While this usually occurs at just the right points and makes sense within the narrative, most of these segments are exclusively crouched stealth sections. Oftentimes, I found myself speedrunning through them so that I could get back to swinging across the rooftops of Manhattan, because it's a more fun thing to do. And if you're like me and you found a neon white symbol on the new suit to be extremely tacky, you have the option of unlocking and choosing several other suits that could potentially appeal more to your taste. This game unfortunately falls within familiar open-world tropes, as you climb several towers to unlock map features, and the map is filled to the brim with repetitive tasks. There's also too many minigames involving circuitry mapping that bring down the game's momentum to a screeching halt. Though to the game's credit, there's an option in the settings menu that allows you to bypass all puzzles if you find them to be too boring. The side missions are also relatively inconsequential and not nearly as engaging as the main plot. They certainly aren't Witcher 3 level side quests. But all in all, this is definitely the Spider-Man simulator we've been waiting for. Insomniac has lovingly crafted a Spider-Man experience like no other. Though sometimes the main narrative gets dragged down as we play as people who aren't Spider-Man, and side activities were a repetitive cesspool, and the minigames were just plain dull, I didn't feel that these issues weighted down the game all that much. With the combination of the inventive use of the Spidey mythos, excellent characterization, fun combat, stunning art direction, legitimately funny humor, and breathtaking web-swinging mechanics, Spider-Man is worth the money. I give it an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching Magic Strawberry. Feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and follow us on Twitter at ZTVGoofingOff, because we would very much like you to do so. But you don't have to. But we'd strongly prefer it if you did, unless you don't want to. But we would appreciate it, though no one's forcing your hand. But if you're still watching this far, then, I mean, you might as well. But again, you don't have to. Bye.